Did you know that according to research, only 6% of Indian children in England and Wales live in lone parent households compared to a whopping 63% among Black Caribbean children? Now, the national UK average is only 14.7%. We're calling this the family stability gap, and it has massive implications for building wealth in the UK and in other countries.
This isn't just a social issue, this is an economic one too. In today's video, we want to unpack why family stability matters so much for wealth and what the data says across different ethnic groups. Plus, we want to touch on how structural and systemic issues impact personal choices and decision making.
Now, we know this is a very complex topic and a personal one as well, especially when we talk about anything to do with ethnicity. People take it very personally. Yeah. We aren't doing this to point fingers at any specific ethnicities or to judge anyone for that matter. Please see this video as education and the start of many conversations, guys. So share it with friends and family on WhatsApp and so on, and let's get the conversations going.
We'd welcome your comments respectfully, of course, no matter your ethnicity or no matter your location in the world. Please jump in the comments and react to the stats as you watch and share your observations.
Guys, if you're new to our channel, my name is Ken. I'm a chartered accountant, a financial coach, as well as a business coach and a former chief financial officer.
And my name's Mary, and I'm an entrepreneur and former e-business analyst.
Together, Mary and I are a husband and wife team, founders of the Humble Penny and Financial Joy Academy. We're also Sunday Times best-selling authors of our debut book titled Financial Joy, a 10-week plan to help you banish debt, grow your money, and unlock financial freedom. We're going to link to it below as well as above if you want to check it out.
Guys, we'd also massively appreciate you hitting that like button, as it just helps to encourage more people to watch our videos. Today's video, we're going to split it into a few parts, so please be patient and watch it all the way to the end. In part 1, we're going to be looking at why family stability matters for wealth. In part 2, we're going to be looking at data on wealth by ethnicity. Part 3, we're going to be looking at lone parents data by ethnicity. And in part 4, we're going to be sharing some reactions to comments on the link between family structure by ethnicity and wealth.
For part 5, we're going to look at why are there higher than average lone parent households in some Black and mixed marriage households. And then for part 6, we're going to look at areas of improvement or further research in the data we're sharing for today, which we're going to link to below, by the way. And part 7 is the conclusion. You don't want to miss this one, guys. We're going to share our personal recommendations and thoughts.
Part 1, why family stability matters for wealth. Well, two-parent households consistently build more wealth than single-parent households. And there are 5 main reasons why. So number 1 is the 2 incomes. A lot of two-parent households have 2 incomes, although not always. And pooled earnings as well as pooled ideas are going to create more resilience. Now, this is an obvious point, but one that is still worth sharing. Number 2 is shared responsibilities and savings. So childcare and housing costs per person are lower. And you also see significant savings in retirement needs for a couple compared to a single person, for example.
Number 3 is a compounding effect. So there is more capacity for a two-parent household to get on the property ladder, save and invest in the stock market or in other asset classes, or save and invest for their children and ultimately pass on wealth. In addition, two-parent households have twice the tax-free allowances for ISAs, pensions, and so on. Number 4 is reduced stress. There is likely to be reduced stress and impact on mental health for a two-parent household, provided, of course, they get on most of the time. This is, of course, wouldn't be the case if both people are always fighting or working against each other's efforts. It's also worth adding that reduced stress is more likely if they live outside major high cost of living cities like London, for example.
Yeah, and number 5 is better outcomes for children. So children in stable two-parent households are more likely to achieve higher education, earn more as adults, and strengthen intergenerational wealth. A family structure isn't just about relationships, it's about creating the conditions for long-term financial growth.
Yes. Now, in a previous video we made looking at UK versus US wealth by ethnicity, which we're going to link to below as well as above for you to check out, one of the recurring themes in the comments section was that family culture, and education were instrumental for the wealth variations across the different ethnicities. Now, specifically, the comments suggested the biggest predictors of financial success were having children grow up in a stable two-parent household. Now, up on the screen are some of these comments. Feel free to pause and read some of them.
So we thought we'd investigate this further. Is there a link between family structure and wealth? How does this vary by ethnicity? We'll look at this in part 2.
Today's video is sponsored by XTB. XTB is an award-winning investment platform that lets you invest in stocks and ETFs using a flexible stocks and shares ISA.
They offer more than 7,500 stocks and ETFs from around the world, perfect for long-term wealth building.
In addition, you can earn up to 4.5% interest on uninvested funds in your ISA. That means you can earn tax-free while deciding where to invest.
Their investment plans feature is perfect for beginner investors, offering low-cost investing and pre-built portfolios tailored to your goals and your risk level.
Whether you are just starting out or you are looking to grow your wealth, XTB gives you the tools to invest smarter.
Once you open your account, you can create a plan in no time with 4 simple steps. Step 1, choose your desired ETFs. Step 2, allocate your funds. Step 3, make a deposit. And step 4, put your money to work.
Click the link below to learn more about XTB's investment plans today and get your money working.
Next is part 2, the data on wealth by ethnicity. Let's look at some data starting with the UK wealth by ethnicity, which we shared in a previous video. We'll then compare this data to lone parent data by ethnicity.
Yeah, up on the screen is what the ONS Wealth and Assets Survey shows for median wealth in the UK by ethnicity. We can see that it says for white British households it's £313,900. For Indians, it's £313,200. For Pakistanis, £224,500. For other white household, £118,000.
For Black Caribbeans, it's £85,900. For Chinese, it's £77,300. For Bangladeshi, it's £65,600. And for Black African, it's £34,300. Now notice how only the white British and Indian households are above the national median of £286,600. Everyone else falls below that line.
Now, we know that this data excludes instances where people are sending money back home, right? We know this happens a lot in Black African and Black Caribbean households, and no doubt it also happens a lot in Chinese, Indian, Pakistani, and other Asian households, for example. Now, that said, the variation in the median wealth by ethnicity is shocking, but it gets even more shocking when we look at the lone parent data by ethnicity in England and Wales. Let's look at part 3 now, which is looking at that data just now.
So this data was published in 2021 and it's the latest information with this level of detail according to the ONS created after Freedom of Information request. Now we called the ONS yesterday to check that this is the latest published data, and they only collected it to this level of detail for England and Wales and haven't for the whole of the UK because that's done by other organisations. Now, up on the screen is the data. We've also added the ONS average numbers for 2021 when this data was published, and also the UK average for recently published data in 2025.
Now, we'll read them out one at a time, guys. So notice that for Indian households, it's 6%. Now remember, they were at the top of the UK median wealth numbers with white British people. Pakistanis is 14% of households. Again, they were near the top for the median wealth numbers. White British, 19%. Other Asian, 15%. Bangladeshi, 12%.
Chinese, 21%, white other, 14%, white Irish, 32%, mixed white and Asian was 14%, and mixed white and Black African, 35%. Mixed white and Black Caribbean, 41%. Mixed other, 25%. Black
African, 43%, although lower than the Black Caribbean numbers, which we're going to see in a moment, it's still significantly higher than the UK average. Black Caribbean, 63%. Other Black African Caribbean background, 62%. Other ethnic group, 16%. Now, the UK average for 2021 was 14.7%, which we've rounded to 15%. although the Institute for Family Studies believes this should be 22%.
UK average for 2025 is 16.1%. Now, when you put the two charts side by side, the pattern becomes clearer. So groups with lower separation rates, for example, Indian, white British, Pakistani, they report higher median household wealth.
Now, groups with higher lone parent rates, for example, Black Caribbean, Black African, mixed white and black, and so on, face more barriers to wealth accumulation. Bangladeshi, though, was an anomaly to these stats. Now let's pause for a moment and actually react to what we are seeing right now. Are you shocked or surprised? Do you agree that there is a direct link between family and wealth outcomes? Comment below and let us know. Part 4, let's react to some of the comments to the link between family structure by ethnicity and wealth. This is stuff from our post on LinkedIn.
Yeah, so we had this comment by Denise on LinkedIn when we posted the stats from today's video, and it resonated with us strongly. She said, no doubt, two-parent households do better economically. However, if there is a domestic violence in the home or other major stressors, I would go for peace than wealth. For those households that have children and constant discord, staying together does much damage to those kids. Their mental health is at risk. Peace or wealth, give me peace.
That's real, isn't it?
Yeah, very real.
Now, on the back of that comment, we also had a response from Joe, which again made us think a lot deeper about the connection between wealth and peace. We'll put this up on the screen. He said, I think one needs to look at the figures from an unbiased viewpoint and make correlations of the data in their own merit. He said, could it be that peace and wealth are directly correlated? More wealth within a union equals more peace. Think about it. He says we should be pushing for economic empowerment, and you will find it's a vice versa situation. He goes on to say drugs and alcohol use and frustrations with self and financial instability are often the roots of domestic abuse, and all these are directly linked. Now, speaking from a personal perspective, I grew up in a two-parent Nigerian household, which was, far from perfect, but it shaped how I thought about money and stability. Yeah. So for example, the presence of two incomes, shared responsibility in the household and emotional support made a massive difference in my life. Over time, I adopted their shared values of unity, entrepreneurship in our Igbo culture, the importance of faith, hard work, being ambitious, taking risks, and generosity.
Yeah, no, I agree, and had the same experience growing up in a stable two-parent household, and it really did shape how me and my siblings have turned out, as adults and the values that we prioritize. Coming back to the data, it's very important that we say at this point that we personally find this data to be very concerning. We honestly do not like seeing the data showing Black Africans and Black Caribbeans in this light, and our goal is to share this data and put a spotlight on areas where we might have some challenges, start conversations and seek solutions. It's super important to stress that, number one, this data does not mean that all Black Africans and Black Caribbeans are all unstable in their households. No, absolutely not. We're sharing published data, and it's for educational purposes, and always we want to come at this topic from a positive perspective.
That's right. Now, that said, this lone parent trend isn't only in the UK, and you also see it in the US. Up on the screen is a comment from Anthony, who shared a view when he saw our post, that I did on LinkedIn. Reacting to my post, he said, I love this, and unfortunately, this trend isn't just in the UK, but also in the US. Thank you for saying this, he said. It needed to be said. Your post isn't an indictment, but an observation based on data. Hopefully, it will be well received, shared, and serve as a catalyst for change. I also want to note that a Black man should not be the only person able to say what we all know to be true. I've seen similar analysis presented by non-Black people using the same data, and it wasn't well received. Sometimes the truth hurts, but needs to be said. As a man and a father, seeing this fuels my desire to be a better person and role model.
The second thing we want to say is that this data also bundles all Africans into our category as Black Africans. So it's important to mention that this is an unfair grouping. And if this data were broken down further, we'd see big differences by country or by culture. Sadly, we don't have this list of data to show, but you'll know from your lived experience.
All right, let's look at part 5, which is, why are there high lone parent numbers in Black households? Okay, we know that family structure isn't the only factor affecting wealth. That's worth stressing, okay? Structural and systemic issues such as wage gaps, housing discrimination, unequal inheritance also play powerful roles in the picture. One of the most commonly mentioned points in the comment section on LinkedIn was the R word, racism. Now, I want to stress, please keep watching because this is actually a pretty important point. Here is what Sandra had to say.
Racism plays a part, so this is not an easy conversation. Job and economic security can only come from a fair and just society. Economics create a huge strain on any family, and when that family has additional issues where men are struggling to find work, it can only cause pressure. We need to applaud how far we have come in these circumstances. Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, we agree with this point, but we also, and this is key, we also have to say that a lot of the other ethnicities we mentioned with below average lone parent numbers like the Indians, Pakistanis, Bangladeshis and so on also have a history of facing racism, yet they still seem to hold it together from a family unit perspective. So clearly there is more at play here, and we're going to touch on this shortly.
But let's look briefly back at history. Although some people might not think it's relevant, during slavery, people were often not allowed to marry legally, and families were routinely separated through sale and forced migration. Just think about that. This eroded the institution of marriage as a protected structure, and it's created generational patterns of instability.
Now, there was also post-slavery marginalization. Even after the emancipation, Black men often had limited access to stable, well-paid employment. Economic uncertainties led to weaker household stability. Policies and social conditions in both the Caribbean and the US often discouraged or failed to support family cohesion.
We're going to look at migration patterns to the UK. In the mid-20th century, many Caribbean migrants to the UK, the Windrush generation, came alone first to work, and with spouses and children joining later. So this created long separations and sometimes fractured families as a result. Structural discrimination in jobs, housing and policing added stress, making family life harder to sustain. Now, as a result, lone parent households are more common, not because of cultural preference, but because of historical and systemic barriers that continue to echo through the generations.
So we've looked at the historical issues. What else could be driving the high lone parent numbers in Black Caribbean households, for example?
I remember in school in year 7, me and my friends were just casually talking about what we got up to over the weekend. And a friend said that he stayed at his dad's over the weekend. And I don't know how, but it transpired, but I lived with both my parents. And he was like, what? He was really shocked. You live with both your parents? And I was like, yeah, is that not normal?
Yeah.
And everyone else around me said, yeah, the same, that they came from lone parent households. And, thinking back on it, a lot of my African friends lived with both parents, and some of my Caribbean friends didn't. They lived with one parent, like their mum, and it really is unfortunate.
Now, we looked at a report called the Commission on Race and Ethnic Disparities, published in March 2021. Here is what they had to say up on the screen. It says that lone parent families have become more common since the 1970s as a result of an increase in divorces as well as an increase in never married lone mothers. There may be a number of underlying reasons for this: cultural change relating to male responsibility, the welfare state, and growing affluence making it possible to bring up children alone. The lower rate of family breakdown among Asian families is notable, pointing to different cultural values or expectations.
The academic Dr. Rakib Ehsan wrote of his own upbringing, and here's what he said up on the screen. Many of Britain's South Asian communities at varying degrees of affluence are deeply family-oriented and intergenerationally cohesive. Civic associations within such communities continue to flourish, with places of worship providing a spiritually uplifting sense of belonging. Whether it was at the local newsagents or the Asian greengrocers, my community elders would take an interest in how I was performing at school, college, and university. Not only does this make a young person feel valued, it provides a healthy pressure where one does not want to disappoint one's own parents, but also wishes to avoid potential embarrassment in the wider local community. Personal pride and family honour are important in this context. A lot of what he said resonates with me growing up in a Christian family-oriented Nigerian household and in the church. And a lot of our friends, they're also married, and a big influence in getting them married is that we all are from the church community. We all grew up going to church. And I've also noticed that more couples are more likely to stick together when they have a common faith as their foundation.
Guys, I want to hear from you in the comments. What do you guys think? If you are South Asian, of a South Asian background, do you agree with Dr. Ehsan? Are his lived experiences similar to what you had? If you are not South Asian, can you see anything in what he said that is a contributor to the lower lone parent outcomes in Asian households? Please jump in the comments and react as you watch. Now, the report carries on to talk about the impact of differences in socio-economic status. It goes on to say, here it is, it should be pointed out that differences in socio-economic status between groups complicate the picture, with high rates of family breakdown found among poor white people too. For families with children of all ethnicities, only 45% of those in the bottom income quintile are married, compared to 84% in the top quintile, according to the Centre for Social Justice, CSJ. There is a wealth of evidence from the academic literature pointing to a greater likelihood of negative outcomes tied to family breakdown, although these are largely focused on the USA. A study in the USA by Sarah McLanahan et al. In 2013 was able to show that that father absence was tied to children's worse educational performance, emotional development, and adult mental health. Research has also linked father absence to increased likelihood of youth incarceration, although this could be in part attributed to poverty.
Research for the CSJ shows that children who experience family breakdown are more likely to underperform at school. And this family strain manifests itself as adverse effects on communication, parenting, and struggles with special needs. The strain of parental breakup and may go on to have a negative impact on children's emotional and social competence. To repeat, this is not about allocating blame. It's simply pointing out that children require both time and resources, and that is more likely to be available when both parents play an active role in their upbringing. Governments cannot remain neutral here, and we would urge the government to investigate this issue further and look at initiatives that prevent family breakdown. Whew.
Wow.
There was a lot there. A lot has been said. But guys, do you agree with the findings of this report on race and ethnic disparities?
Yeah, please comment, whether you are in the UK or in Europe or outside the UK, maybe the US, Canada, Australia, wherever you are, in Africa, in Asia, in the Caribbean. Jump in the comments from anywhere, really. Are you noticing similar patterns where you are, relating to higher lone parent households, for certain ethnicities? Let us know in the comments section. But there are other problems we want to talk about from a modern day perspective, right? And we were thinking about this, and one of them is the idea that, location is actually likely to have an impact. Okay, most Black Caribbeans and Africans live in London, in the UK, where there is a very high cost of living. And no doubt this is having a massive negative impact on their stress, mental health of households, as well as reduced wealth outcomes because of the increasing cost of living. So I've often wondered, and let me know what you guys think, would Black Caribbeans and Black Africans have more successes in their marriages if those marriages were back home? For example, in Jamaica, Barbados, St. Lucia, Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya. And this is just something I'm curious about. But I'd like to know what you guys think in the comments section. Okay? Now, the next 2 points we're going to talk about briefly don't just apply to Black households. They apply to any ethnicity, but they're worth talking about.
Yep, so marriages are now transactional and it's driven by impact of social media. You've got your dating apps which have a swipe culture and it just makes partners feel more replaceable. Shows like Love is Blind, Married at First Sight and so on, they just make people believe that marriage is only a piece of paper that is signed and it is much more than that. They encourage people to enter marriages for the short term and come out of them whenever they feel like it.
Yeah, it literally feels like marriages are for season 1. Get married and then, no, sorry, I don't want it anymore.
Yeah.
Season 2, and then they start again. All right, the third point here is waiting to be financially stable before committing or getting married. I'm seeing a massive pattern. Men don't want to commit until they are feeling financially stable, right? Women don't want men they think are not financially stable. And this creates like a massive issue. And I want to talk briefly about my parents starting out. When I think about like growing up and having spoken to my parents about their upbringing, you know, my parents were just on their journey. When they got married, they were just poor financially. Like, you know, they were rich in life, but they were poor financially. And what was interesting about this, reflecting on it, is that not having the financial means is not what stopped them getting married, right? Or committing. You know, like my dad was still a student and that sort of thing, but they just went ahead, and it wasn't what stopped them deciding to have children either. You know, I get that there are massive financial pressures that we all face at the moment in different ways, and we don't have, you know, the concept of the village like we have it, you know, in our African communities, in the support system, you know. But like thinking back to my childhood, my parents had to move a lot for work, and they didn't necessarily have the village following them. Like they had to travel to different states to try and find work, but still they still went ahead, had children, and through, you know, that difficult financial life, still raised us as their children. But that's very different today, where, you know, we are choosing to basically, there's a stalemate, basically. We're saying, like, I'm not going to do anything because I'm not ready financially. And breaking news, most people will not be ready financially, like ever.
So true.
You know, so what does that then mean for, you know, our future families, basically?
Such a good point. Part 6, we're going to look at areas of improvement or further research. So number 1 is that context matters. We need more data with the context as to why we have more lone parent families. ONS data is a starting point, and perhaps we need to make more of an effort to collect our own data with this context. Now, up on the screen is a comment from Donna making this point and also saying that it is only with these kinds of insights that we can ensure solutions and interventions are targeted in a way that provides us with the opportunity to have our best lives, which, by the way, may or indeed may not directly equate to wealth.
Very good point. Number 2 is sample sizes. Okay, so the sample sizes used for each ethnicity varied, with some more than others. Okay, so smaller sample sizes can amplify percentages. So it's important to be cautious with stats and think of how what we are being told connects to our true lived experiences. So it's worth also mentioning that this raises the point about participation in statistics, right? A lot of our households don't get involved, so these stats might not be capturing a more representative picture of the real situation, right? So if we want better representation, we need to either collect more detailed and contextual data ourselves, or we need to get involved, you know, with the ONS, for example, with these stats so that they better reflect a more accurate picture.
Yeah. Number 3 is rethinking stability. Now, although we touched on this earlier, it's worth highlighting that the comments from Amanda, which says, sometimes you have to become a lone parent family in order to provide your children with stability. She said, that means you're doing the job of 2 people. I think what we need to do is to rethink our blinkered vision of what family is and to extend our metrics of what success is.
That's real, isn't it?
That's deep.
Right, number 4 is more recent data. So more recent data is required, but this data isn't being collected in as much detail. A UK census is done typically every 10 years. So the last one for England and Wales and Northern Ireland was in 2021. For Scotland, it was 2022. So by the sounds of that, we'll be waiting for some time for more data.
We will, but however, in that time, our belief is that these median wealth numbers by ethnicity would have improved materially, although we can't say the same for lone parent numbers. The ONS data on families and households in the UK in 2024, published in 2025, shows that there were 3.2 million lone parent families in 2024, an increase from 3 million in 2014. This increase was primarily in families headed by a lone father, an additional 136,000 families.
Wow, isn't that surprising?
I was really shocked by that.
Let's look at conclusion. What's the takeaway here in part 7? In our view, and according to the research, family stability is a hidden driver of wealth in the UK and beyond. Stable households create fertile ground for wealth to grow, while fractured ones face tougher odds, especially where inequalities already exist. We need more commitment. Yes, commitment. And I'm speaking here as a black man, speaking for a moment to, fellow black men who might be watching. Get married and seek a long-term stable relationship. Don't let social media and what others are saying out there lead you astray. Everything begins with a commitment. Of course, this advice applies to women of any ethnicity, or anyone watching for that matter, of any ethnicity or community. Mary and I have been together now for 16 years and happily married for 14 years while raising our 2 boys. We know 100% that it is this stable, happy and united home that helps our children to flourish and helps us as a family, stay united and build wealth for the future.
Absolutely. And we need more focus on quality in relationships and more focus on interventions to help our family and marriages to flourish. We need more conversations to help us identify and seek solutions to problems before they lead to family breakdowns. We need to look out for each other as a community and take it as a personal responsibility to make our families stay together, whilst leaving room to encourage and support our friends and loved ones in their families and marriages too. When we do this, our family units stay together for longer, our children get raised in stable homes and with the best chances of success in life, including wealth outcomes, and our communities flourish too as a result.
I love that. Now, none of this is to, of course, dismiss the efforts and resilience of lone parents, many of whom do an extraordinary job.
Yeah.
But the reality is that the financial strain they face is real. Up on the screen are some of the challenges of lone parents' households, as summarized by Lisa, again from LinkedIn. Feel free to pause the video here and, have a read of these lived experiences. Again, up on the screen is another example of a single parent, Andrea, who found it hard, to raise a parent as a single parent, but with her friends and family, was able to raise her son up really well, and he is flourishing in life. Again, this is up on the screen. Feel free to pause and read it.
Let's return back to the data we started this video with. From 6% to 63%, the message is very clear. Family stability is not just social, it's economic.
So we'll leave you with this question. Is building stronger, more stable families the missing key to closing the wealth gap in the UK and beyond?
If you found this video helpful, hit like, subscribe, and share it with family and loved ones.
And don't go anywhere, guys. Check out this next video over here titled Invest This in an ISA and Earn £2,000 monthly passive income tax-free. I think you're going to love it.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video. And as always, in all things, be thankful and seek joy.
Take care,
Take care, bye.
Bye.
Bye.